guys! Today I will read for you the rest of the book. So I found out that chapter 15 is a bit long, but chapter 16 is 2 pages. And I'm gonna read you the rest of this book. Let's start right now. Chapter 15 Murder by Termites. They slept that night in a farmhouse in Spring Valley. Jack woke up next morning to hear his master calling, "Jack, Jack, help! I don't feel at all well." "That's all right, master," said Jack, hurrying along to help. "You had too much wine last night. Come for a walk. I'll clear your head." "No, it's not my head," the scarecrow told him. "It's my legs and arms and my back. I've been poisoned. Help!" And he did look in a bad way. It was perfectly true. Even his coconut had gone pale. When he stood up, he fell over. When he lay down, he groaned, and he was getting twitches in his arms and legs. "Twitches, master?" "Yes, Jack. Dreadful ghastly twitches. It's horrible. It feels as if I'm being eaten alive. Call the doctor at once." So Jack ran to the town and called the doctor. The scarecrow was a celebrity now, thanks to the trial, and the doctor gathered up his bag and hurried along straightway, followed by several onlookers. They found the scarecrow twitching badly and groaning at the top of his voice. "What is it, doctor?" said Jack. "Listen to him. He's in a terrible state. What can it be?" The doctor took his stethoscope and listened to the scarecrow's chest. "Oh dear me," he said. "This is bad. Let me take your temperature." No, don't do that," protested the scarecrow. "If you take my temperature away, I'd be cold also. As it is, I'm hot and cold both together. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, no one knows what I'm suffering." "What other symptoms are you feeling?" "Internal conniptions and a nameless fear." "A nameless fear? Dear me, that's not good at all." "A fear of what?" "I don't know. Horses, eggs, hate, ow, ow. I feel terrible. Help, help." And the scarecrow leapt all over the room, capering and skipping and prancing like a goat. "What's he doing, doctor?" said Jack. "I've never seen him like this. Is he going to die?" "He's clearly been bitten by a spider," explained the doctor. "Dancing is quite the best cure. All the medical authorities agree." The scarecrow overheard him and sank to the floor with terror. "A spider? Oh no, doctor, anything but that. I'll go mad with despair." "Better keep on dancing then, master," said Jack. But the poor scarecrow couldn't dance another step. "No, I can't move," he cried. "All the strength had drained from my body. My nameless fear is going all the way down to my toes." "Let me feel your purse," said the doctor. The scarecrow held out his left hand. As soon as the doctor took his wrist, the umbrella opened, startling the doctor, who stepped back in alarm. "Try the other one," said Jack. "Here, master," pointed at something. The doctor took his road sign in one hand and a large silver watch in the other. Jack watched the scarecrow, and the scarecrow watched the doctor, and the doctor watched the watch. After a minute, the doctor solemnly declared, "This patient had no signs of life at all." The scarecrow let out a piercing yell. "Oh no, I'm dead! Help! Help!" "You can't be dead yet, master," said Jack. "Not if you are making a racket like that. Can't you find anything that you can cure, doctor?" "Dear me, this is a very bad case, a very poor case indeed. There's only one thing for it," said the doctor. "What?" said the scarecrow and Jack together. "I shall have to operate. Lie down on the bed, please." The poor scarecrow was quivering with terror. "Aren't you going to put him to sleep first?" said Jack. "Of course I am," said the doctor. "My goodness, you take me for a quack." The scarecrow heard the word quack look around for the dog. But the doctor took a rubber hammer and knocked him on the coconut. The scarecrow fell down, stunned. Now what? Said Jack. Undo his clothing, said the doctor, then hand me my penknife. Everyone gasped and came closer to look. Jack unfastened the scarecrow coat and laid bare his shirt, with the straw sticking stiffly out of every gap, and his poor wooden neck sticking out of the top. His master was lying so still that Jack thought he really must be dead, and before the doctor could do anything, Jack flung himself across the scarecrow and cried and sobbed, "Oh, master, don't be dead! Please don't be dead! I don't know what I'd do without you, master! Please don't die!" He sobbed and howled and clung to the poor old scarecrow, and nothing would move him. Several of the bystanders began to cry too, and before long the room was filled with weeping and wailing, and every eye was gushing with tears. Even the doctor had to find his handkerchief and blow his nose vigorously. The birds had heard the news, and a great lament went up from all the fields round about, and the bushes and trees were full of piteous cry. "The scarecrow's dying! It's been poisoned! It's been assassinated!" And the loudest wails of the lamentation came from the room in the farmhouse in Springville, where the doctor and Jack and all the townsfolk were gathered around the scarecrow. But they didn't come from the people. They came from the scarecrow himself, because all the noise had woken him up. He leapt out of the bed and cried, "Oh, I'm dying! I'm poisoned! Oh, what a loss to the world! Treachery, assassination, murder! Oh, Jack, my dear boy, has he cut me open yet?" He was years about to. Oh, I feel terrible. I've got conditions and all up and down my spine. I feel as if a million little ghosties were nibbling me. Oh, there goes my leg. I'm falling apart. Jack, help! The scarecrow was running round the room in terror, and the doctor was running after him, trying to hit him with a rubber hammer to put him to sleep again. Jack was running behind them, gathering up all the bits that fell on the floor. Some string and a bit of whole wood from somewhere up his trousers, a lot of straw, and everyone else was wailing and sobbing. Then Jack heard a loud caw and looked around in relief. "Winnie Raven," he said, "thank goodness you've come back. The scarecrow's been taken ill." And the doctor says, "Never mind the doctor," she said, perching on the windowsill. "He doesn't need a doctor. What he needs is a carpenter. So I've gone and fetched one. Here he is." In came an old man wearing a carpenter's apron and carrying a bag of tools. "Hold still, old scarecrow," he said. "Let's have a look at you." "He's my patient," said the doctor. "Stand back. I want a second opinion," cried the scarecrow. "Let him look." Jack helped the scarecrow back onto the bed. The carpenter put some glasses on and peered closely at the scarecrow's legs, and then at the digging stick Jack had put in to replace his spine. He tapped them with a pencil. He felt all around them. He looked all the way up and down the faded road sign. Then he stood up with a solemn expression. "Everyone feel silent. In my professional opinion," said the carpenter, "this gentleman is suffering from an acute case of wordworm." The scarecrow gave a shriek of sorrow. Everyone gasped. "And if I'm not mistaken," the scarecrow went on, "he's got termites in his stomach and an infestation of death watch beetle in his backbone." The scarecrow looked at Jack in despair and reached for his hand. "Can we save him?" Jack said. "He needs an immediate transplant," said the carpenter. "He's got to have a whole new backbone, and he needs his insides cleaning out completely. This is a fresh infestation, mind. It's deeply suspicious. In my professional opinion, all them beetles and insects and woodworms got tipped down his neck yesterday. But balloonies! Jack cried when they all came crowding round to pat him on the back. Assassins, murderers! The Scarecrow was paralyzed with terror. All he could do was lie there and whimper. So Jack ran all through the farm looking for a broomstick, but the only ones he could find were already infested with the woodworm, or split down the middle, or soft with dry rot. He looked for a stick of any kind, but the only ones he could find were too short, or too bent, or too flimsy. Then he ran back to the Scarecrow, who was lying pale and faint on the bed, twitching and whimpering, and there were a lot more people in the room. The first visitors had now been joined by several elderly women dressed in black, weeping and wailing and tearing their hair. In those days, every town had a band of professional mourners, and these were the mourners of Bella Fontana. They'd heard about the impending death of Lord Scarecrow and had come to offer their services. Besides, they missed the death of poor old Mr. Pandolfo, and they wanted to make amends. Ladies, Jack said, I know you mean it for the best, but the thing about scarecrows is that what they really like is jolly songs. You got any jolly songs you can sing? That would be disrespectful. One of the old ladies said, we were always told that when someone was on the brink of death, we have to weep and wail to remind them of where they were going next. Well, that's very cheerful, said Jack, and I'm sure they all appreciate it no end. But it's different with scarecrows. Songs, dances, jokes, and stories. Else you can go home, said the oldest old lady. But then Jack found a bottle of Mr. Pandolfo's best wine, and they all agreed to try singing and dancing just to see how it went. Oh, Jack, whispered the scarecrow, I'm not long for this world. Well, cheer up, master. It could be worse. You're in your own bed, in your own house, on your own farm, and you might have been stuck in a muddy field or lying in splinters on a battlefield or floating about in the sea getting nibbled by fishes. Here, you've got clean sheets and these nice ladies to sing to you, and people looking high and low for a new backbone. But oh, master, don't die. Oh, oh, oh! And poor Jack started to wail and cry again, and flung his arms around the scarecrow, ignoring the danger of catching woodworm. And that started the old ladies off again. They'd been singing and dancing to Fanuculi Fanucula and Papa Piccolino, and they'd just started on Volare. Jack's wails and sobs had them howling and scratching along with him. And then the scarecrow himself joined in, and there was such a row that they didn't hear the doctor and the carpenter coming back, only when dozens of birds flew around their heads, and Granny Raven called at the top of her voice, did all the crying and howling stop. We got a broomstick, said the carpenter, and it's a good one. This old raven found it for us, and me and the doctor's going to transplant it right away. Everyone's got to go out of the operating theater for reasons of concentration and hygiene. When the operation is over, Lord Scarecrow will need quiet and rest and recuperation, and until then, keep your fingers crossed. So all the townspeople left the room, and the doctor and the carpenter, with Jack's help, detached the old worm-eaten spine and emptied out all the beetle-infested straw, and gently and delicately inserted the new stick that Granny Raven had found, and packed the scarecrow tightly with handfuls of clean, fresh straw from the barn. Well, said the doctor when they'd finished and washed their hands, we have done all that medical science can do. Now we can to rely on Mother Nature. Keep the patient warm and make sure that his dressing are changed twice a day if all goes well. Jack, my boy, said a well-known voice behind him. "I feel a great deal better already. I believe I would like a bowl of soup." Chapter 16. Spring Valley. They never managed to get the Buffalonists charged with attempted murder by termites, so the case was never solved. But they didn't have any more trouble from them. The poison factory was closed down and reopened as a mineral water bottling plant. Spring Valley is famous now. Every smart restaurant has it on the menu. They cleaned up the land and cleared out all the ditches and redug the wells and opened the clogged up drains. And now the fountains in the town are splashing with clear water all day and night, and the children play in the paddling pools, and the birds wash themselves in the municipal bird baths. Spring Valley water flows to every house, and all the houses have 3 kinds of tap: hot, cold, and sparkling. As for the scarecrow, he was the happiest of anyone. The broomstick that Granny Raven had found, the one that was transplanted to save his life, turned out to be the very one he'd fallen in love with all the time ago. His fiancé, the rig, had left her for a further desert, and unhappy and abandoned. She had passed from hand to hand, lamenting the loss of the handsome scarecrow who had proposed marriage to her. When the 2 of them found themselves united, their happiness was complete. The scarecrow spends all his days wandering around Spring Valley, playing with Jack's children, shooing the greedy birds away from the junk corn, and enjoying the fresh air. But he only shoos the birds away to a special box of bird seed that he keeps behind the barn. And what's more, he's always a nest in his coat pocket. The little birds, the sparrows and robins, wake up for the honor. There's a waiting list. The scarecrow and his broomstick are as proud of the eggs as if they'd laid them themselves. Jack's children, I hear you say. Yes, a few years later, when he was grown up, Jack got married. His wife called Rosina, and their children's names are Giulietta, Roberto, and Maria. They are all as happy as fleas. Granny Raven is godmother to the children, and she stands no nonsense from any of them, and they love her dearly. And one winter evenings, as they sit by the fire with some good soup inside them, and the children are playing on the hearth, and the wind is roaring round the rooftops, the scarecrow and his servants talk about their adventures and bless the chance that brought them together. There never was a servant, Jack sure, who was such a good master, and in all the history of the world, the scarecrow is certain. There never was a scarecrow who was so honest and faithful a servant. The end. Thanks for listening to my story, guys. Goodbye.